Chad Lance with TTG Equipment, and I'm going to talk a little bit about maintenance of your yield monitor. Okay. Up in the grain tank, when you lower your loading auger, you'll see the bulk of the yield monitor system. We've got our moisture sensor to the left. Moisture sensor is the central processing unit of the yield monitor system. We've got the mass flow sensor, which should be right here. That would be what actually measures the yield. But we've got a couple extra components. We've got the unload on the go baffle, and we also got this up here, which is your deflector, which deflects the grain onto the sensor instead of going behind it. Okay, so you want to make sure that this is in good shape and doesn't have a hole wore in it. You want to make sure this is in good shape and this poly isn't wore out. But you're also going to want to look at your mass flow sensor, and we don't want to see any wear in this area as far as holes, because it will wear through over time. Because when you get a hole in this area, you get grain behind the sensor, and we don't need any grain behind the sensor because it'll impede the movement. Okay, so as far as moisture sensor maintenance, right here is your plunger, and the center bolt holds the plunger in, so you could take it off and pry it out and look at the capacitance plates inside of it and the plastic around them to make sure they're not wore. You need to be careful with this sensor. As you can see, we've got some gaskets right here, and water is the enemy of this thing. Rain and pressure washers can really do damage. The second thing you want to make sure is there's holes right here in these chutes. These are to let grain out that may sneak past the plunger. Okay, the worst thing you want to do is to allow that plunger to stall out. There's a 30 amp fuse on that motor right there, and 30 amps is an awful lot of current, and that current is drawn through the central processing unit, through that connector. So as you stall that motor, it pulls that 30 amps clear through that circuit board, and 9 times out of 10 it'll fry that circuit board, and you'll have an unrepairable moisture sensor. It may function sort of, but it will let you down in a short amount of time. So I'm going to take this moisture sensor out, and I'm going to set it on a bench and disassemble it and show you a few things to check. I have the moisture sensor out of the combine and on the bench here, and I went ahead and disassembled it. We'll go through some component ID. Okay, we'll start here on the left. These are the two chutes that you normally see on the side that allow the grain to come out of the from behind the plunger. Of course, we got our top cover right there, and we have our motor assembly right here. Okay, attached to this motor assembly, we've got a small circuit board. It's got an in relay and an out relay. You've got your main power and then your communication or logic circuits. And you can see it's just a threaded actuator. Okay, just you can hear it when you start the combine. It just spins in and spins out. Okay, and then it has this plunger attached to the end of it. Okay, so this plunger slides in, lets the grain in. You got your capacitance plates right here on each half. They sense the moisture, and the plunger just shoves the grain out. And then it does it over and over again. Okay, I split this apart so I could show you some things, but right here, this would be the top side, is your some of your wear points, but mainly on the bottom. If you can look real close there, you'll see that we got grooves starting to develop, even into the aluminum. And right here, there's grooves starting to develop. So, and we're about wore through right there. So I would venture to say that this moisture sensor right here in this combine is wore out. Needs maintenance or replacement. Okay, so, and it's all because of this right here. Okay, so we don't want this to wear through, because a couple things happen. If you wear through, you get your plunger, you'll get crop that'll get stuck between your plunger and this plastic piece, and it'll jam your plunger. Okay, we don't want to jam our plunger. That's bad news there. Okay, the other thing that happens is we'll wear through this plastic, especially these screws, and we'll pack the bottom of this full of grain. okay? And like I said, water is your worst enemy. And you get water into that grain and it swells up and it will deform them. Okay, so I want to show you this right here. This right here is a moisture sensor that we took out of a combine that is beyond repair. And as you can see, we had some major damage. Okay, so this thing had water in it. Grain tank sumps were not pulled out, and this was underwater for quite some time. And you can see how the grain that was stuck under there swelled up, okay, and ruined it. And that's something we don't want to happen. So if your moisture sensor is in good working condition right now, and you see these signs right here, you can replace this plastic piece right here through our parts department. So don't be afraid to call your parts department and inquire about getting that replaced, as long as your moisture sensor isn't throwing any codes right now. But if your moisture sensor is throwing motor stalled codes or relay failure codes, your best bet is to go ahead and order a reman, have one of the TTG technicians come out and install it and program it. These moisture sensors are identical when it comes to a 60 series combine and a 70 series combine. The only thing different is the software, and a TTG technician has to install it. So you're more than welcome to come in and get a reman and install it yourself, but you're still going to have a TTG technician come out and install the software. We cannot bench program them. So thank you.